Okay? Will they fully or have they fully accepted or considered or acknowledged Black people as humans? Because
Mm-hmm.
recognizing Black people as humans also implies equality,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Also implies equality and freedom and tolerance with respect to privilege. Because you must know that whiteness is economic, political, social privilege. So for that privilege to survive and to be sustained and to continue, there must be some people who must be deprivileged.
I am bringing to the stage Dr. George Walter Slayon. Hello, Dr. George. How are you tonight? You are muted. You're still muted. There
Okay.
we are.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, hello. I'm pretty good. Wonderful. Yeah, wonderful to be here.
Well, it is wonderful to have you. Thank you for joining me again tonight. You were just on the show a few weeks ago, and you're right back here.
Yeah, it's quite a pleasure to have me on again. And I want to thank you for your interest in my work. I really appreciate it.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you back because your work is really, really interesting. For those who missed it the first time, um, it's called The Rush for Black Diamonds, and you actually have two volumes. And so some people may think that when they hear The Rush for Black Diamonds that we're talking about jewels, and we actually are talking about jewels, but we're not talking about the jewels that we wear on our fingers. We're talking about a different type of jewel. So can you explain this?
So, The Rush for Black Diamonds are a two-volume book, and Black Diamonds is a metaphor. Okay, it's a metaphor for enslaved and chattel Black Africans that were enslaved during the transatlantic slave trade and its mutation to chattel slavery and colonialism and interpenal slavery, which is the modern phase of the continuation of the transatlantic slave trade into the 1970s, post 1970, where we are now.
So, now what exactly is your book about? Because it's not just about slavery, it's really more about the thought process behind slavery, correct?
Exactly, several things. So both books, uh, volume one or volume two, both of them explore how one philosophy becomes the foundation for the development and emergence justification of the transatlantic slave trade. But both books look into how this idea, the conceptualization and justification of the transatlantic slave trade is mutated into chattel slavery as well and into the modern phase. So both books look at the intersections of the transatlantic slave trade into penal slavery into our modern era. And it's important because uh, I just want to put this up there as we're about to celebrate Black History Month. These two volumes are very pivotal. If you are really, really interested in understanding the history behind Black history, Black experience, the Black community, Black intellectual capacity, I will encourage you to read these books, okay? And I'm available to come over to do a speaking engagement and teaching workshops as well. But these books are on Amazon. They are absolutely wonderful resources, and people have been purchasing them and promoting them. And as a matter of fact, I'm a fellow at the Center for the Study of Law and Religion at Emory University School of Law. They are doing a big promo
Wow.
for both volumes. So I will encourage people. So again, I have talked about volume one. Let me just talk a bit about volume two. In volume two, we look at the content, we look at colonialism in the United Kingdom, we look at the 13th Amendment, we look at the black codes. What people don't know is that the black codes are synonymous to some of the penal policies associated with the modern era. Okay, so what was fundamental to the black codes were the fact that black people had to be legally marginalized. Okay, and then you have Jeffersonian lynching. It talks about lynching. It talks about the new slave masters. So after the end of the Civil War, after into Reconstruction, you have the emergence of Jim Crow and the Black Codes. But then after that, you have lynching as well. And then with the end of lynching, you have what are called the new slave masters. The new slave masters were no longer as slave patrol officers. They became the legal system. Okay, they became law enforcement. They became the courts that were basically a certain legality to put black people behind bars. And it goes into what I call white supremacy and the Ku Klux Klan and the emergence of what I call the cult of white supremacy. The cult of white supremacy. Because fundamentally, the cult of white supremacy, what we are dealing with today, is not necessarily about just racism. It's more than racism. It's the ideological continuation of a racial marginalization of people that are black inherently, which we see today with respect to the dismissal and the binding of Black history, the dismissal of Black intellectual capacity, and all of that. So, but also the book, while it looks at the Black codes, it looks at some of the genocide that did take place in Africa as well. So when we often talk about the slave trade, we don't talk about the Germans. But just to let you know that the Germans were highly involved in the massacre of Africans as well. So you have the German genocide in Africa, in Namibia. Okay, it says here, humanity is shown in the 1904 to 1908 when German brutally massacred the people of Namibia in southern Africa. You see, and literally took their skulls to Berlin as scientific evidence to prove that black people were intellectually inferior. And then you have what are called the black codes, the continuation of the black codes. Now,
Right.
people,
And in New Orleans, we call that Le Code Noir.
yes. So you have the French, the first French codes, okay, a code noir, yeah, the French codes, and then after the French, you also have what I call the Louisiana codes, Code Noir, the Louisiana Code Noir. So you have the French and you have the Louisiana ones, and then you have what is called the Jeffersonian and the criminal codes of Virginia. As a matter of fact, Jefferson, the third president of the United States, was the one that wrote the criminal laws of Virginia. It was so harsh that even some white folks said, no, 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 it's too harsh for black people. So Jefferson, he had a very avoir hatred, obvious hatred for black people he didn't hide. And then you have the black codes after 1865, and you have the Florida black codes. So you have the Louisiana black code, you have the Virginia black code, you have the Florida black codes as well. And then you have implicit black codes with various states.
Now, this is a
All
lot
these
of
black codes.
research. This is a lot of research. How long did it take you to actually bring all of this research together to put into this book, or actually both books?
So it has taken me about 10 years or so, but I've
Wow.
been working on it for over a period of time because part of the goal was to bring the past into the present. You see, because people would always think, oh, it's the slave trade, it has passed. No, there is a continuation of the ideological practices and the practical theories of it as well being evident in our modern period, in
Right.
what is called the postmodern era or the 21st century.
Yeah,
You
because in
see?
order for the slave trade to have even worked, it you had to have a certain belief system. You had to be able to change a way of you had to have people think a certain way about a group of people. You had to basically dehumanize an entire group of people in order for this to even work. Because they
Exactly.
you can't think of them as actual people in order for them to be thought of as property. You can't think of an actual person, an actual human as property and think that this was actually going to work.
So you see, look, this is the conundrum in the West, okay? The psychic of the West, the Western consciousness with respect to race and white supremacy. Is this contradiction, okay? And this conundrum, this problem that is associated with the Western mindset. Would the Western mindset perceive Black people as humans?